Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 700. My opponent started off with d4. I played knight f6, thinking maybe to get into a Nimzo Indian or a Grinfeld or something. Anyway, he plays c4, I play e6, so this would be Nimzo. If he lets me, could be a Bogo Indian. But even g3 would allow a Catalan. But he plays bishop g5, and I've actually never seen this move before, although it's the fourth choice here. But you can see it's a very rare move. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. The move I played, bishop e7, seems to be a fine response, just unpinning right away. I mean, I was thinking of the Trompowsky, where you try to get in the move knight to e4 and chase the bishop away using the knight. And I can't do that because the knight is pinned at the moment. So unpinning immediately seems to be fine. Let's see, he plays knight to c3 here. And, well, if I were to play d5, this transposes into an ordinary position of the Queen's Gambit declined, and all other moves are just out of the opening book. The way I played it with knight d5 is kind of questionable, I guess. Just normal moves here, like b6. Say he develops a knight and bishop to b7. This is looks like a Queen's Indian defense now, and seems to be fine. Seems like black is just doing okay here. You know, it's a typical kind of thing where white has more space in the center, but, well, there's good diagonals for both of black's bishops. He can get all his pieces out, and he has counterplay by attacking the center. So should be fine. So I played this somewhat strange-looking move, knight to d5, and it does work. It's a tactically motivated move. But I shouldn't be in such a hurry to exchange off this dark squared bishop. I guess that's the point. In fact, the chess engine thinks that best play is for white to go ahead and take that bishop and then just push on with e4 or e3, you know, opening up a line for that bishop. And let's see, if I castle, knight f3 and b6. Again, I should probably go for this Queen's Indian setup. And it seems like this is better for white. Because well, white has gotten rid of my dark squared bishop, so he's gotten rid of one of my better pieces there. So that's what he should probably do, is just fall into my plan and take off that bishop. Instead, he retreated. I guess he wanted to keep his dark squared bishop. So I just continued on with my knight. I took on c3. He took back with the bishop, and then I went d5. I didn't know what to play here, especially either, but d5 is reasonable. Just staking a pawn in the center and stopping him from playing e4 for the moment. This position still seems to be okay for black. It's white has a slight edge, but it's not more than the usual opening advantage. So it seems like black is just fine here. But I wasn't quite recognizing all the features of the position. In particular, you know, I don't have a knight on f6 anymore. I've traded it off. And he's got this bishop on this diagonal where it's not always that's not a common position for that bishop, or usually it'll take a few more moves to get there through some kind of fianchetto. So anyway, because of that, and I haven't castled yet, there's pressure on this g7 pawn, and I'm ignoring that for the moment. And d5 is still okay. So he goes knight f3. I go knight d7. I want to get this knight over to the king side. I was recognizing that my king side was a bit weak, so that's a good plan. He went e3. And now I should really do something about my king side here. Knight to f6 or just castling would be fine. The chess engine likes this line. It likes castling, bishop d3, and then b6 once again. So the bishop can come out here to b7, supporting this pawn and maybe trading off at an appropriate time to open up the diagonal for this bishop, and black is doing okay. White's still a little better, but black is fine. But c5, the immediate c5 here, just loses a pawn, and it's because he takes, and now there's he's a pawn up, and he's also attacking this pawn over here. He took the other way, but it turns out to be the same. Let's see, he took on d5 first. I took back, and then he took here. And now if I just grab that pawn, which is what I planned to do, he takes on g7, and he stays a pawn up, white stays a pawn up, and my king side is completely messed up. So I thought that was that was pretty awful. So at this point, I looked around for other ideas, and I came up with this bishop f6 move, which I don't know if it was all that great, but it was at least a try. He played queen takes d5, so I'm 2 pawns down now. But the chess engine says even stronger here would be rook to c1, just defending the bishop with the rook, so I can't take the bishop off with check and mess up White's pawn structure. So that would have been best play, and that leaves White with a, well, White has a winning edge all along, but that would have been the strongest move there. Kept the biggest edge. Queen takes d5 allows me to play this little intermediate move. I take the pawn with check, and then I castle over here, protecting my pawns. I guess it's not an intermediate move because there was no immediate threat. But I am down 2 pawns at the moment, and but I've gotten my king castled, and White's king is castled, and there's a couple of weak pawns here I can go after. So I have some counterplay. It's not like I'm totally. It's not like I'm completely 2 pawns down. The engine rates this as about a -1 advantage or +1 advantage for White. So I'm down a pawn effectively, and it's probably still a winning advantage. I think White is winning the whole game actually from the moment when I played c5 and lost that pawn. White's winning the rest of the way. Although he doesn't always play the best moves, but plays moves that are good enough. Anyway, after I castled, he went bishop to d3. Somehow along here, White's advantage seems to decrease a little bit, so I was looking at other lines to play a little more actively. Maybe bishop to b5 would be an idea here. And then discovered this funny thing, looking at this with the chess engine, that you can play queen to a5 here, which is not a move I would have played probably, because it loses a piece, or it appears to lose a piece. But it turns out if the queen takes the bishop, then well, you can bring this rook over to chase the queen away. And if the queen runs away, then your queen comes in here with check, and White's position kind of falls apart. The king, let's see, if the king comes up here, then you can start checking with the queen and stuff. And if it stays in the back rank, then you pick up this rook in the corner. So anyway, the funny stuff that chess engine comes up with. Anyway, Black should try and play a little more actively. It seems like after bishop d3, I get in a couple of moves, and I'm near to equalizing, although White is still, keeping that basically +1 edge. Let's see, he moved his queen to e4, lining up the queen and the bishop with a simple attack, and I defended that with knight f6, but well, the chess engine says I have time to throw in this check. Queen takes c3 check. And well, if the king stays on the back rank, then I can grab this rook with check. It's still not clear that it's safe because he still has this mate threat. But in any case, the chess engine likes king e2 is the best move here, defending his rook, and then queen b2 check. The knight comes back to d2, and then finally knight f6, defending against the mate threat. And it says that while White is better, that Black is almost in the game here. Anyway, so my immediate knight f6 was not the best move here. And White continues with a winning attack here. I guess this is the move I overlooked. I thought I could scoop up those pawns anytime, but queen b4 defends both those pawns, and I don't want to trade queens here, leaving him 2 pawns up. So so White continues with a winning material advantage. That's what I should have said. So I keep the queens on. I drop my queen back to c7. White gets to castle, and basically White's just 2 pawns up in this position. I bring my bishop out. He plays knight to d4. I bring my rook into the game. Oh, and the other rook. Yeah, I guess I had ideas of pushing the queenside pawns forward, so bring the f rook into the game. He played h3, kicking my bishop. I drop back. Plays bishop to f5, harassing my rook. Rook went to d8. He went knight to b5. So he's doing a good job of activating his pieces. So it's a nice play by White with the material advantage. You don't want to just sit on it all the time. You want to use your extra material and try and push your opponent around, and that's what he's doing with these moves. He's getting his pieces active. The only thing he really needs to do is get his rooks into the game. let's see. So I have to move my queen. I bring it over here to e5. He plays g4. Maybe that's a little bit questionable, but it is continuing to force some exchanges, which does help white. Let's see. I played knight to. Oh, it's white's turn. He played knight to d6 here. Yeah, he gets his knight on this square. And I played knight to d5, harassing his queen. Apparently, I should just take off his bishop at this point. I guess my bishop's not going anywhere, but he can just take back with a knight, and he stays a couple pawns up, and then b6 to undermine the knight is a playable move here. Still, white has the advantage, but anyway, knight d5 kicks the queen around a little bit, but the queen just comes over here and offers another trade. So it's this, and this is a difficult trade to avoid now because it attacks, the queen is attacking my knight as well as offering the queen trade, and so I can't find a square for my queen that holds everything together, so it kind of forces a trade. So that's why knight d5 was a mistake. So I took, he takes back, and I grabbed the bishop. At this point, I couldn't see anything else. My bishop didn't seem to be going anywhere. And then I play g6, kicking his knight, so similar to what we saw on the other line. Then I played my rook over here to defend the b pawn. I suppose I could have tried that b6 move, but I try it at a point later. Anyway, so he's maintained his 2-pawn advantage into an endgame, and he just needs to convert it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 2 pawns, and they're connected. He hasn't suffered any. And with the queen trade, he managed to straighten his pawns out, so I don't even have that damaged pawn structure to attack. So pretty straightforward win for white from this point. And he makes a couple mistakes, so I think he's already starting to get into a little bit of time pressure. This is still okay, e4, kicking my knight around, and then king up here to defend the pawn. Let's see, I bring my king. I want to centralize the king and be prepared to try and stop his, his extra pawns are these 2 pawns here. And in particular, I guess this pawn is a passed pawn. I have to get in position to stop at the pawn on the d file. He played king g3, and this is a mistake. I didn't take advantage of it, but if you want to pause the video here and see if you can spot the tactic for black right here. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away, so pause the video if you want to think about it. The tactic here is just this simple knight fork. Hits the king, hits the pawn, and that's an undefended d-pawn, and that's actually the most dangerous pawn in his position. And after I take that pawn, he's still a pawn up, and I have significant drawing chances. So that king g3 move is actually a pretty serious mistake. And he didn't need to do that. And there's lots of other moves he could have played. Anyway, let's continue on. I didn't spot that idea. I played knight e6, hitting this pawn, and he just defended with the rook. Let's see, I played king e7. I want to get up here, put some pressure on the knight, and then play this b6 move. He plays f4. I play b6, and he plays f5, hitting my knight. And now there's another tactic in this position. This one is more difficult than the previous one, but well, I think you should be able to spot it. So it's black's turn to move. What's a good tactic for black here? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away now. I can actually take this pawn on d4 here, and it has to do with the pressure that I have on this knight. So when he takes back with the rook, then I grab this pawn here, and 2 pieces are under attack. My pawn is attacking his rook, and my rook and king are attacking his knight, and he can't save both of them. He has to actually lose the knight at this point, and so I've managed to snag a pawn. So anyway, a cute tactic there, and not one I even came close to seeing. But I think we might have both been getting low on time, although my opponent was much lower on time than I was at this point. Let's see, so I go knight c7, and he goes e5. Let's see, I trade off this pawn on c5. He takes back, and I go knight a6. I'm still trying to undermine his pawns here. He pushed the pawn forward, and then I played f6 here, trying to get rid of this other pawn. And he was thinking about this position, and he just lost on time, so he just needed to play more quickly. He's still completely winning here. The best move for white here is to go ahead and take this pawn. Takes with check, and I can't take his knight, of course, because it's protected by his rook, so take the pawn. And then here's maybe where it gets a little tricky. He can actually play g5 check and force my king back. The problem is I cannot take that pawn because of this knight fork picking up the rook. So that forces my king back, and then let's see, his knight can come in here to b7, hitting my rook. Say we trade, and let's see, I take this pawn, but then he can activate his rook and pick up this pawn over here. And at this point, it's pretty straightforward. I've sort of run out of ideas, and my pieces are kind of tied up. Defending against his dangerous c pawn, he'll take off the h pawn and win with these pawns over here. So anyway, that's how the game really should have ended, but instead, after f6, he spent too much time thinking about this position and lost. So anyway, it's an interesting game. Good play by white. Just gotta watch the clock in these games. Hope you guys liked this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again soon.